I'll be coming your way any second. Again, if you guys will approve that, that would be wonderful. And we can then post this video for others to view in the future as well. Make sure this information gets out to anybody who needs it. Once again, thank you guys for joining us this evening. We will go ahead and get started with the session. My name is Ann Blowers. I'm an admissions counselor here on the Newark campus. I work with a lot of students from Licking County, Fairfield, Perry, Muskingum, and a few other counties as well, and then all students from Northeast Ohio. So thrilled to have you guys. And if I'm your admissions counselor, great to meet you virtually through this evening's webinar. Again, thrilled that you guys are all here to join us. We are joined tonight by a very great guest, Caress Gilcrease. She will give us all kinds of great information about the learning communities as she works directly with multiple of those. So with that said, I will go ahead and turn it over to Caress to start the presentation for you guys. So Caress, it's all yours.
Thank you, Anne. So I'm going to go ahead and start our presentation today. We're going to be talking about the learning communities here at the Ohio State University at Newark. As Anne mentioned, I'm an academic success coach in the Office of Retention and Student Success Initiatives, and I work with multiple learning communities on our campus. So we're going to talk about what those learning communities are, some of the benefits, and how you can apply for a learning community if you'd like as well. All right, so we have 5 learning communities here at The Ohio State University at Newark. The first is the Buckeye Generation Learning Community, which is actually our largest learning community on campus, and it's for first generation students. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means as we go through the presentation. We also have the Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community, which is designed to support 40 underrepresented students, as well as the Engineering Learning Community, and the Education, Teaching, and Learning Community, which both of these learning communities you can join by major. So for the Engineering Learning Community, that's for majors and pre-majors, and the Education, Teaching, Learning Community, that's for early and middle childhood education majors, as well as the Global Citizens Learning Community, which is our final learning community. And that learning community is open to all first-year students and is for students who have a want and need for global interconnectedness and awareness. So what do you get if you join a learning community? So there are so many benefits to joining a learning community and so many opportunities for you to really connect on campus. And a learning community is a really great way for you to do that. There are some expectations that we do have of our learning community students. The first is that you take classes together, LC courses across the year. So you take classes together in the fall and also in the spring semester with your cohort, which is very beneficial to students because you get a chance to really talk to one another and really relate to one another. Sometimes you get a chance to help each other in your courses. And then also in addition to that, you really get a chance to connect more with one another. So you also connect with faculty and staff as well. So you'll have 2 learning community staff members that'll be a part of your learning community journey. You may have even more faculty members if you're in like the education, teaching, and learning community, which has faculty mentorship as well as staff who will connect with you one-on-one and really make sure that you make it through your first year successfully. You also get to attend learning community events, which we have some amazing events for you to attend. So the learning communities have so many different social and cultural events throughout the year. You actually see one of them here in the picture at the bottom, or actually a few of them in these pictures at the bottom. The first was actually an Earth Day event that we had where students got to take home a succulent with them. We also do some community service work. So this was actually students volunteering at the Licking County Food Pantry Network in the square collecting food for the Licking County Food Pantry. And then in addition to that, you see a student at an art museum. And so there's so many different learning community events and opportunities. And we've continued those virtually. So we even did a virtual Korean museum tour that was so neat. We actually had someone come in from California, where the Korean Arts and Cultural Center is there, and actually do an entire tour for us, not only of their facility, but of videos of Korean culture, some artwork, and just some really neat things as well. So the learning community has a lot of cool things that you can be involved with like that as far as events go. And we'll talk a little bit more about events as we go through. But more than anything, we expect our learning community students to be open to new possibilities, because you're going to learn so many different things. You're going to have so many different experiences, and we want you to be open to everything that's going to come your way, because when you become a part of a learning community, you're actually considered a leader on campus, and you get different opportunities that most first-year students may not have the opportunity to have. Now, for our first learning community that we're going to talk a little bit about, that's the Buckeye Generation Learning Community. So as I said before, the Buckeye Generation Learning Community is for first generation students, and it's 120 students large. And basically, first generation just means that neither of your parents have received a 4-year degree. So it just means that neither one of your parents has a 4-year bachelor's degree. And so that then would qualify you for the Buckeye Generation Learning Community. And the Buckeye Generation Learning Community was created in 2012. And as I mentioned, you get a lot of benefits with the learning community. So you get to attend unique social and cultural events. In the picture here, you actually can see one of the students enjoying a pumpkin that she painted at one of our events. We also have really unique cultural events. They actually just did a movie discussion for the movie Selma, and that was a big cultural event that we had last month. Also, there's study tables for the Buckeye Generation Learning Community courses as well. And I think that it's really important to mention that students tend to feel that they are more academically successful in their learning community classes after having these study tables and taking the LC courses together. So that's something that can be really beneficial to you. And those are actually put together by your peer coach, your academic peer coach, which your peer coach is something that we'll talk even more in detail about soon, but they actually work with your faculty member to create study tables that are geared to the class that you're taking to best assist you. So they sit down with the faculty member and say, hey, what do they need to know? And really are able to give you that information within the study tables to make sure that you're most prepared. Also, there's one-on-one faculty and staff support within the learning community. So you'll have an academic success coach like myself or Corinne Gonzalez if you're in the Buckeye Generation Learning Community. And you'll also get some one-on-one attention from faculty. So our faculty have taken students on experiential trips, like going to the Cartoon Art Museum or experiencing a different food of another culture. In addition to that, you'll receive $600 in academic funding per year, as well as priority consideration for housing, which is something that's really nice as a benefit for our Buckeye Generation Learning Community. In addition to that, we have the engineering learning community, which is 40 students large. And the engineering learning community is for engineering majors and pre-majors, and it really helps them to academically prepare for success and engage with engineers that are already in their professions and working in their professions. So you can see here kind of them actually going to the car and arcs labs and getting a chance to really see how things work and talking to engineering professionals. They also have a faculty member who teaches engineering courses. So their first year engineering courses that they would take in autumn and in spring are taught by a faculty member within the learning community. So they have that one-on-one faculty support with someone that's actually within their major, which is really cool. They also take an engineering group studies course together as well. And they have unique events and experiential learning trips. As I mentioned, going to the car and arts labs, other engineering opportunities where they get a chance to talk to the Columbus campus about engineering as well. They also get a chance to make connections with engineering professionals. They, in addition to all of these amazing benefits, also get an academic peer coach, just like the Buckeye Generation Learning Community. And you also get one-on-one connection with faculty and staff, so that same type of support. And then you also receive that priority consideration for housing, which is really nice. The Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community, it was designed to support first-year underrepresented students, for example, American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian, Black, African American, Hispanic, Latinx, Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islander or multiracial students. And this learning community is all about engaging yourself in multicultural curriculum and development, and really being supported and understanding education that is reflective of your culture. So we get a chance to really engage with other communities in this learning community. One of the courses that we've had previously is the Geography 2750 course, where Dr. Madsen, who is one of our faculty members for SAGE, actually has students talk cross-culturally to students in Egypt about different experiences that they may have, including sports or holidays. In addition to that, we also talk a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just a lot of different pieces that help to create a really strong support system throughout the year for students and allow them to really create a sense of belonging. These benefits, once again, you get those unique cultural and social events. The event that's actually shown here is our cultural dinner that we have every year. And this is an all LC event where you get a chance to really create your own cultural dinner food and bring it and talk about it. We actually did this event still this year, but a little bit different since we were virtual. We had students submit TikToks of themselves cooking different foods and really enjoying that process. I actually submitted a TikTok as well. I made some gumbo, and it was just one of those things where you get a chance to connect, get to learn a little bit more about people's culture, and also get a chance to really connect with your faculty and your staff as well. So that's really awesome. In addition to that, we have study tables as well for the SAGE courses. Again, those study tables can be very helpful for students if they do get attended and get that information to really gain a better understanding of what's going on in their courses. There's also an academic peer coach for the Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community, and one-on-one faculty and staff support, as well as a $600 academic funding per year that you also receive. So that's $300 in the fall, $300 in the spring, which traditionally has been used on books. And then in addition to that, you do receive that priority consideration for housing as well. Next, we have our Global Citizens Learning Community, and the Global Citizens Learning Community is also 40 students large. This will actually be its second year as well. And the Global Citizens Learning Community is really focused on global awareness, global citizenry, and global interconnectedness. And it's for students who are interested in those pieces and who want to engage with the world community, right? And so students really get a chance to experience different cultures and countries and really talk through cross-cultural conversations. We actually had an event not too long ago that actually was with the Brazil Gateway, where we got a chance to talk to students who actually went to Brazil, had that experience, got a chance to be a part of the Brazil Gateway, and students were able to ask them questions about the food, about the holidays, about the differences in going from Brazil back to the US and going from the US to Brazil and what that was like for them. And I think that those things really help to facilitate great conversations. And we've actually been partnering a lot with iHouse, which is the International House Learning Community, on the Columbus campus. And some of our students have even applied to iHouse now at this point, from the first year that they were in the learning community to now this being their second year in the learning community, or their second year, and they would like to join another learning community, a second year learning community on the Columbus campus. So it's a great way of really getting you prepared for that, as well as our STEP program in addition to that, which is our second year transformational experience program for students. And it just really helps to develop a strong sense of support on campus. So some of the benefits, again, you get those unique cultural and social events. I talked about our Brazil Gateway conversation. We're also talking to India right now for another conversation, another cross-cultural conversation with the India Gateway. In addition to that, we have those study tables. Again, those are so beneficial and they're free, right? They're so beneficial and free to our learning community students to really get help and assistance with their learning community courses. And then in addition to that, you have that peer coach, your academic peer coach, who also can assist you, as well as one-on-one faculty and staff support. Again, you also have academic funding. You have $500 of academic funding with the Global Citizens Learning Community, but that can be used on research, grants, service learning projects, or for your study abroad as well. And you also receive priority consideration for study abroad if you apply to the Global Citizens Learning Community. So I've talked a lot about peer coaches, right? But I haven't really told you what peer coaches are or what they really do. So academic peer coaches are peer mentors. So I talked a little bit about them working with you all as far as tutoring in your study tables. They work with the faculty to really help to instruct your study tables or to really give some supplemental instruction to your study tables. However, they also act as a peer mentor. So they reach out to you bi-weekly and weekly to just connect with you and to really gain a better understanding of how you're doing, right? Like, how are you doing in your classes? What can we do to keep you on track? How are you doing personally? How are you doing mentally? Can I give you this resource to help you succeed, right? These peer coaches have been trained in so many different ways to be able to provide you with the support that you need to be successful, right? And so something that they do when they're on campus is really try to reach out to students as much as possible and connect with them. We also use an app called Remind, where they text students throughout the semester and just kind of check in on them and say, hey, how are you doing? What do you need from me, right? And so your peer coach is really that person that you can go to if you need help with something, or if you need assistance, or if you feel like you don't understand something, or if you want help with time management and you're like, okay, well, maybe my peer coach could help me with that because that's something that maybe they've done successfully. That's also something that we help with in our office as well. So that could also be something that you go to your academic success coach for as well. Next, we have the education, teaching, and learning community, or as we fondly like to refer to it, our TLC, which is for 24 pre-majors in early and middle childhood education. And it is a phenomenal program. The actual coordinator of that program is Christy Eidelman, and she does an amazing job with the students that she works with. So many of them have come to me and told me how impactful being in the teaching and learning community has been for them. Being an education major and being in this community is kind of like getting a pot of gold, right? You get faculty mentorship. So every faculty member that's going to be mentoring you is already working in education, right? So you get that piece of that. You also get academic support. You also get to attend unique social and cultural events, and you really get connected to leaders in education as well. And you get a lot of support. So not only do the faculty mentors support you in this learning community, but also you get support from your cohort. You get support from the coordinator of this as well, who has worked in education for many, many years and can give you everything that you need in order to be successful. So those things are something that is really important when thinking about what benefits you get or what benefits you receive by being a part of an LC. So I've talked to you about all the different LCs. If you want to learn more, you can go to go.osu.edu/NewarkLC to learn more, to get some of the information that I've already told you and just review. Also, in addition to that, if you'd like to apply to a learning community, you can go to the Buckeye Generation Learning Community website, the Engineering Learning Community website, or the Education Learning Community website, as well as the Scarlet and Gray Excellence or Global Citizens website as well. All of our websites start with u.osu.edu/ either BGLC, Engineering LC, Education TLC, SAGE, SAGE, or GCLC. And that's how to apply. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your time. Our email is also listed here, Newark Learning Communities at osu.edu, as well as our phone number, 740-755-7881. So you can always call if you can't think of a question right now to ask me. You can always call, or you can always send us an email and ask that question as well. But hopefully we'll get to all of your questions here in just a moment. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Caress. Like I said, guys, great information. Super glad you guys could join us to hear that straight from Caress. We do have a couple really good questions that came in through the Q&A, so thank you guys for utilizing that. Of course, if you have any questions at this point, go ahead and submit them through there, and Caress and I will go ahead and address those for you. So Caress, perfect. If you want to go ahead and address a few of these, the first is it possible to be part of more than one learning community?
That's a great question. So what we always tell students is that you always want to apply to the learning community that you're most passionate about. So do all your research on all of the communities and apply to the one that you feel like best fits you, but you can only join one. Okay. So throughout the year, you can only be a part of one learning community, but as long as you're applying to the one that you're most passionate about, I'm sure that your experience will be fantastic either way.
Yes, thanks, Caress. And the awesome part for you guys when you go through to apply for these is that 4 of the 5 communities, the application is the same. So it's all in one application, so you can go in there. It makes it really easy to apply for those. The only one that's not going to be on that single application is going to be the teaching learning community. So that application is going to be its own thing. But if you're applying for any of the other 4, you're going to see the same application through that. So it's going to make it easier for you to kind of decipher which one might be a good fit for you. And then, of course, you know, Caress just gave you their contact info. We'll put that back on the screen for you here at the end as well. So definitely write down their phone number and their email. And if you have questions about, you know, I'm interested in 2 or maybe 3 of them, what one might be the better fit for me? Do you have recommendations according to, you know, maybe I am a first generation college student, but I'm also an engineering student, and I'm also, right, all these things. I'm also interested in global citizenry. Then they can talk through that with you and help you kind of discern which one might be the best fit and the unique benefits of which one benefits go with each. So you can also obviously decide for yourself if you prefer one benefit over the other. Another question that we had, Caress, was, when will you hear back if you have already applied or if you will apply for a learning community?
So you can look forward to hearing back by the end of April. So that's normally when we get back to students as to whether or not you were accepted into the learning community, or if you're on a wait list for the learning community, or if your learning community application was not accepted.
Awesome. So if you guys are familiar with the enrollment timeline as well, just from the admissions standpoint and how that kind of correlates with learning communities. So May 1 is the recommended deadline to pay your acceptance fee. So that's the $100 fee that lets us know, hey, we're confident that we're going to enroll, and it lets you go through the orientation process. So the nice news is you can apply for housing, you can apply for learning communities, you can take advantage of these opportunities, and you're going to be notified about whether you've been admitted to those. What does that look like? What opportunities do you have with us before May 1st rolls around? So if you haven't paid your acceptance fee and you're waiting to know, did I get into a learning community before you make that decision, you're going to have that decision in time. So definitely keep that in mind. Another question that we had as well was regarding what does that priority consideration for multiple of these communities look like? What does that mean for the housing process? Caress, can you quickly just review which of the communities have housing
Yes.
priority consideration? And then either one, if you want to review what that looks like, or I can. So I will turn it over to you.
So the learning communities that have priority consideration for housing would be the engineering learning community, the Buckeye Generation learning community, and the Scarlet and Gray Excellence learning community. So those are the ones that have priority consideration for housing. And what that priority consideration for housing looks like is basically you go into 2 lotteries instead of 1, right? So if there was just 1 lottery, which is what everyone goes into, you would go into that lottery, but you would also go into another lottery for priority consideration. That would specifically mean that you would have twice as many chances to get into housing. That makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Caress. So it's a pretty good deal for you guys. So if you do know that you're really interested in housing, obviously we do not recommend that you apply for a learning community strictly for that benefit, because there's so many other benefits that go into these programs, but do know that it is going to be a benefit, that you will have basically 2 opportunities at housing rather than 1 for those lottery systems. Another question we had come through regarding kind of learning communities and housing was kind of, how do those students get paired? When are you going to find out who you're paired with if you do have a rooming spot? And that's a great question as well. So as far as the housing process goes here for the Newark campus, they will conduct that housing lottery the last week of April. Again, you will know by May 1st if you already have a spot, if you've been selected in that original draw, or if you've been placed on a wait list. And then if you are selected for a spot in housing, then you will be notified for the general lottery in mid-July of where your rooming assignment is. Are you in an apartment? Are you in McConnell Hall? And then your room number. And then also you'll be notified of your roommate assignment. So definitely know you are going to have that gap period of when you find out you've been selected or if you're on a wait list, and when you're actually going to receive your housing assignment. And the reason is that there's some shuffling that happens in housing for those first few months of people being offered spots, maybe declining them. And then it also gives housing time to make sure that they are accommodating any roommate requests that have come in with those applications. So hopefully that helps with that information. Now, if you are in a learning community and you've applied for housing, do know that they will house you with another learning community student. It may not be somebody directly in your program. So if you are maybe in Sage, you might not have somebody directly in Sage, but you'll have somebody else in an LC. So that is a great perk for you. Another question we just had come in is, what happens if you don't get into housing? Great question. So you guys know a little bit of kind of what your odds are to get into housing here at the Newark campus. We have 310 spots. We traditionally have about an average of 500 students apply. So we generally have about 100 guys, 100 girls on the wait list. And if you don't get immediately into housing, then you can choose to remain on the wait list throughout the summer just to see if a spot opens and that you are offered them. When you do find out come around May 1st, they'll notify you what spot on the wait list you are. So you'll know, hey, I'm spot 6. There's a really good chance I'm going to get offered something here in the next probably couple weeks or a month or so. Or you might say, I'm spot 76. I'm probably not going to get pulled in, right? If you don't get a spot in housing here at the Newark campus, directly on campus, we have a lot of students that will choose to get off-campus housing here in the Newark area. So obviously, if you're coming from more than maybe 30 or 40 minutes away, you're not going to want to commute from home. So we have a ton of students that will get off-campus apartments. And because of that, we have some resources on the Newark website. So if you go to newark.osu.edu, select future student, and then select housing and roommates, you will find a couple resources, including a Newark area apartment list. So that helps you start your search. Those are all apartments that have openly expressed interest and willingness to house our students. And so you know that they're going to be college student friendly. We do not directly affiliate with them or sponsor any of those directly, but they have kind of reached out to us as a university, so we put those on the list. And then we also do offer a roommate finding tool for off-campus housing. So if you want a room with another Ohio State Newark student, but you're going to be getting a personal apartment off campus, then we do offer that tool to help you connect with other students to find that opportunity as well. And then one more housing question just came in regarding the housing requirement, the difference between just the regional and the Columbus campus. And this is an excellent point as far as is it required to live on campus. At the regional campuses, including Newark, it's not a requirement to live on campus. So students absolutely have the option of commuting from home, living off campus, in any other kind of accommodation, even if you have a family friend or a family member that lives in the area, then you want to live with them, you're certainly welcome to. Or you absolutely have the option to apply for direct on-campus housing, but it's not required. So all those options are open to you. It's totally up to you to choose. At the Columbus campus, do know it is a 2-year on-campus housing requirement. So if you're at a regional campus for 1 year, no matter how you have housing accommodations, that's going to count as your first year of housing when you get to Columbus if you campus change after 1 year. So when you get to Columbus, you'll have 1 year left of a housing requirement. So you'll be required to live on campus in Columbus for your sophomore year. But you will not have 2 years of housing when you transfer over or transition over campuses if you have already been at a regional campus for a year. So hopefully that clarifies. You can do really any housing options at a regional campus, but Columbus does require that you live there through your sophomore year. Awesome questions. Any other questions at all that you guys have? Caress and I, we are in no rush, plenty of time, so we will hang out here for at least the next couple of minutes. So feel free to continue to submit any questions that you have there. I'm going to go ahead and review a few details for you guys, just about some things coming up for you, just so you're in the know and know of some upcoming opportunities. And then as I go through these slides, again, continue to throw those questions in the Q&A so that we can address those for you. All right, and Caress, we did have another question come in, which if you want to go ahead and address that while I'm getting these slides ready, it's what if none of these communities really apply to you? Is that all the opportunities on campus? Do you have any other suggestions about student life opportunities or things like that they can get involved in?
Yeah, definitely. So if you feel like none of these learning communities apply to you, I will say that many of them are open to all students. So as far as the Global Citizens Learning Community, that is also open to all students. But if you're like not into global awareness, or also the Scarlet Gray Excellence Learning Community is also open to all students. And if you're like not into multiculturalism, that's okay too, right? So there are so many different things that you could be involved in on the Newark campus. So you can get involved with multicultural affairs, you can get involved with student life. In student life, there are so many different organizations that you can join. And so there's multiple organizations on campus that you can get involved in. They're always looking for new leadership. So a lot of times, which is something that's great about being on the Newark campus, a lot of times students get the opportunity to really come in and be a part of leadership in organizations and get that professional development experience early on and sit on a board for an organization as soon as you come into school, if it's something that you're really passionate about or interested in. Also, in addition to that, they always host multiple activities throughout the year that you can join and be a part of. Even virtually, I think they did not too long ago, a friend like speed dating thing. So you got to like meet new people on campus and things like that as well, even virtually. So there are so many different things that are offered to you through student life that you could get involved with as well. Also, in addition to that, if you're interested in maybe getting like a campus job, there are so many different jobs on campus that could also keep you busy and also really create something for you to add to your resume and get you connected to other staff members on campus, which is really beneficial for recommendations, references, for internships, and things like that as well. So there are so many different opportunities on campus that you can really connect to if the learning communities may not be the best fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chris. All right, so keep the questions coming in, guys. We'll continue to answer those. But again, those few details that I want to review for you are some upcoming opportunities for you. So just like this evening's event here with Caress regarding learning communities, we have some upcoming sessions just like this. So they will be held from 6:30 to 7:30 in the evenings throughout the work week for you. And they're going to cover specific departments or resources on campus. So our upcoming sessions, we have a session with Disability Services upcoming just next week. So this is maybe if you're a student who has an IEP plan or a 504 plan or any kind of other accommodations that you're looking to have put in place for your college career. We're more than happy to work with you to make sure that you are having a really great experience here and that you're having a really successful college experience as well, and that we can support you in the ways that whatever ways we can to support you successfully here. So certainly attend these sessions if you're interested in learning more. Our director, Connie Zhang of that department will be the one running the session. So any questions at all that you have, you will get it straight from the source. Connie can answer this for you. So certainly join us for those. You can join either that March 25th or we'll have another one on April 20th. So definitely something to look into. If you are interested in learning more directly about on-campus housing, you can learn way more directly from our housing coordinator, Jill McCartney, on April 1st. So definitely join us for that session. If you are thinking about living here directly on campus, he can review that process for you as far as how to apply, the benefits of living on campus, and how that system works. If you are interested in learning more about student life opportunities, then certainly join us April 13th. And if you have any friends that are interested in learning more about learning communities on campus, just like you did this evening, join us April 8th for our next session as well. And then a session that you will all want to look into joining us for is an orientation preparation session on May 13th. And that'll be held by our Director of Advising. And they run orientation for you guys. So she will run through what orientation is going to look like, all the components of those. So that process does start in May. As an admitted student, if you pay your acceptance fee, you'll get an email probably about the first week of May with information to start your orientation process with placement testing and things like that. So definitely join us there in early May to make sure that you're on track, you know what's coming your way, and that you guys have a really smooth and successful orientation process with us. Do note that orientation will be held virtually this summer. So you guys will not be coming onto campus for anything, but that makes it really great and flexible for you scheduling wise to get those tasks done to prepare for the autumn semester. The next events coming up here that we'd like to point out for you guys are our specific parent sessions. So this is for any parent or guardian of an incoming student. Maybe you guys are on the session tonight with your student, or maybe you're a student who knows like, hey, I know someone who would love to jump in for those. We do have one tomorrow night. We already have a great crowd of parents and guardians signed up for that. They're awesome sessions, so definitely join us. Again, you can ask any questions. Our Director of Enrollment, Diane Canny, will run that session for you. And we're also going to be joined by Corinne, another academic peer coach just like Caress. So she will also be highlighting a few of our learning communities during that session for you as well. If you would like to join tomorrow's session, we would love to have you. You'll simply want to call into the admissions office to register, as online registration has closed, but we'd be more than happy to add you. Make sure you get the accessibility link for that. And if you can't make it tomorrow, we have another session on April 7th to go over all the information that parents and guardians would need for this process to help your students along the way. Important links for you guys. If you are in the applicant stage, definitely check out the Just for Applicants page. If you're admitted, then you can definitely check out our admitted students page there at go.osu.edu/admitted students. That will give you guidance through all your enrollment steps. So definitely check that out. If you are interested in learning about virtual visit opportunities, go to our go.osu.edu/visit Newark. It's exactly where you registered for this event. And we are thrilled to let you guys know that April 5th, we will be starting up on-campus tours once again for our admitted students on campus who are coming for the autumn semester, autumn 21. So if you are interested in registering for on-campus tour, you can go to that website and that registration is now open for you. So those again will start April 5th. And then for again, those parents and guardians, you can check out the Parent Corner page for some more guidance and resources to help you through this process. Do you have any questions at all about enrollment or the learning communities? Here's our contact. I'm going to leave this on the screen here as Caress and I go through any incoming Q&A, so you have time to write it down before I take it off. So take your time there. Caress, do we have any other questions that came in?
Yes. So the first was, what are the chances of getting into the learning community as an engineering student? I think you noted that there were 40 students in the engineering learning community. If there are 45 applications, how do they rank? Is it done by date you applied and paid the acceptance fee? So we actually rank in terms of quality. So when it comes to engineering learning community, we look at a few different factors. So the first is going to be your application. Did you put time and effort into your answers? And we rank on a system of excellent, good, poor, fair. Excellent, good, fair, poor, as far as applicants coming in. And then in addition to that, we also look at your math placement score to see if you have placed into the engineering courses that you need to take in order to be in the engineering learning community. And then also, in addition to that, if there are 45 applicants, and let's say they're all amazing applicants, which we love to see, right? If we have 45 amazing applicants who apply, right, we will then do it by the date that you applied. And those ones who are, let's say that they applied just a little bit later, those ones will then be placed on a wait list if they're all 45 amazing. Let's say that we have 30 that are amazing and maybe 15 that fall along the range or the spectrum. Then we'll put the ones who maybe scored a little bit lower in our ranking system on the wait list and take those who we believe would best fit the learning community. I do believe, we have another question here. The date that you applied to Ohio State or the learning community?
I think they're asking about rankings as far as consideration for the learning communities. If that
I'm sorry.
If that date of application. So that'll be the date of application for the learning community.
Yes, it will be.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen, guys. So hopefully you got that information written down. But again, keep these Q&A coming. Definitely great questions. All right, well, if you guys don't have any other questions, then definitely thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully you got all kinds of information that was helpful. Reach out to Caress's office or my office for either learning communities or admissions anytime. We're happy to assist you, and definitely enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. Thank you for spending an hour of it with us. We certainly appreciate it. And again, we'll hang out here for the next couple minutes. So if you don't have any other questions, you're welcome to log off. Again, thanks for coming. And if you do, stick around. We're happy to answer those. Have a good night, guys. Okay, another great question. So how much time after you applied do you take the placement test for engineering? Definitely a good question. So correct me if I'm wrong, but about a week after you apply, you'll be contacted by Corinne, who is the advisor for that community. And she will let you know that your application's been received. Thank you for applying. And then about a week after that, you will have the opportunity to take your placement test. So it'll be online. She will let you know the day that you're going to have access. You have access for a 24-hour period. And those are traditionally on a Wednesday or a Thursday. So she would notify you, hey, next week, Wednesday, this date is when you're going to have access to that online placement test. Now, if you can't take it during that 24-hour period that she has let you know you're going to have access, just let her know and she can get you access for the next available date. But we do recommend that you take that test as soon as possible because they will need that placement information in order to see if you're going to be eligible for that learning community. Again, like Caress said, you do need to test into those first-year engineering courses in order to join that community, since those are classes that they take together. So, but again, about 2 weeks after you apply is when you're going to take that math placement test. Caress, does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounded perfect.
Great.
So I think we have another one here.
Yes. So does the math placement test have to take place prior to April 1st? It does not. So the application remains open until April 1st. So placement testing will still take place for the week or two following that, just to make sure that all the students have a chance to complete that. Like Caress said, they do make those decisions around the end of April. So they need to have all the placement results in by about mid-April so that they have time to go through those decisions to select the students for those communities. So April 1st, you can still take the test after that, but it'll probably be only open for about another week or two. And again, those are only offered Wednesday and Thursday. And if possible, they would like you to complete that on that single date that you are granted access so that they can kind of get those results as soon as possible for you. And then Caress, for the few folks that we have with us, thank you guys for sticking around. Would you mind going into just kind of what they can expect for that application, as far as, are there essays, you know, once they get in there, what are they going to be looking at?
Yes. Yeah. So what our application really looks like is, first it goes through a few different questions, which are really more personal information questions to get a little background on just you. So it'll ask just some pieces like your name, number, things like that. Then after you get past that portion, it'll also ask if you know what learning community you're looking to apply for, right? And so if you do know, you can go ahead and select whatever learning community that is. If not, our questions are meant to kind of guide you towards a learning community that you may want to join, or towards multiple that you could pick from at that point. So are you a first generation student? Are you an engineering major? Are you interested in being a part of maybe the Global Citizens Learning Community or the Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community? So it'll try to kind of guide you, that way you fit into what those communities help to represent, or what we hope for those communities to be designed to have students in. And then after that, you'll have a few essay questions. So your essay questions that you have are really about your own life. So you're just talking about yourself, 8 to 10 sentences about who you are as a student, why you would like to join the learning community, why it's important to you, and then also academically, how you see yourself doing in college, and what skills do you believe that you're going to take that you have now in high school to enhance on being a part of the LC. But yeah, that's pretty
Awesome.
much what the application consists of.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, I think, again, if you don't have any other questions, that should wrap it up for us this evening. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. moving forward, happy to have phone conversations, email conversations, whatever it takes to get your questions answered. Really, we're just here to make sure that you're confident and you have the information you need moving forward through your college process. So thank you guys again for hanging out with us tonight and answering or asking all the questions that you had. We certainly appreciate that. And have a good night. And of course, go Bucks. Take care, guys.